Shabbat Shalom. Welcome here in the sanctuary and here for those who are joining us online to Congregation Beth El at the Sudbury River Valley. I'm Cantor Vera Brookhuizen, and it is an honor and privilege to welcome you here tonight to hear from Eyal Tarchitsky and Gary Levy of Dror Israel, who have traveled under the good auspices of our Adult Ed Committee to speak with us about Dror Israel's work, and also to hear from Eyal about his and his family's experiences on the 7th of October in Israel and the response that he and this organization have made since then. It seems unnecessary to belabor the point of why this is an important opportunity for all of us. I will just say that my understanding is that Dror Israel's mission is healing and resilience through education. And for all of us to be part of that and to support it, the education is key. Listening to lived stories, listening to responses from those who are most primarily impacted by these tragic events is absolutely crucial. And it's so valuable for us, and I hope also for you, to have this opportunity for direct listening and direct dialogue here in our sanctuary. I also bring greetings from our Rabbi, Josh Brandel, who regrets very much that he's unable to be here tonight, and he prepared some words, which it is now my honor to read for him. Rabbi Josh says, "To my Beth El community and to our honored guests, I regret that I am unable to be with you for what promises to be a powerful evening. At Yom Kippur, I shared a key teaching from the Talmud, Kol Yisrael arevim ze bazeh. All the people of Israel are responsible for one another, are interconnected with one another. At Beth El, we have embodied the truth of this interconnectedness in many ways over the past 8 months. It undergirded our care for the Chibur students who were visiting us from Israel on October 7th. It guided our current practice of offering prayers for the hostages and the victims of violence. It inspires us as we continue to come together for programs, for study, and in reflective gatherings. And we will nurture it into the future as we open ourselves to the experience of our friends, families, and the greater community in Israel. Throughout this time, I've encouraged our congregation to share their own pain arising from this conflict. While that pain can be a burden to bear, it also reminds us of an important truth. That pain is the proof of the way that we are interconnected across time and space and denominations and political lines. Kol Yisrael arevim ze bazeh. Our hope for peace and healing is woven from our commitment to one another. It's my profound wish that this evening helps us to draw closer in understanding and with respect. We are a passionate community. Let's listen and learn from everyone here with humility, with patience, and with compassion. May the hostages be set free. May those who are suffering find healing. And in the words of the prophet Micah, may everyone come to sit under their own vine and fig tree, with none to make them afraid." So says our rabbi. Let's take this opportunity to find the sparks of the divine and find healing in one another's eyes, voices, and stories, and uphold with dignity and with care the experiences that we are about to hear. I'm going to turn it over now to Mitch Rosenberg of our Adult Ed Committee to introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Cantor Vera. I first met Eyal almost a year ago under somewhat different circumstances. Dror Israel has been working with Israeli youth and Arab Israeli youth for many, many years, and we were talking about how he could describe to us what this organization has been doing over all this time to try and bring the communities together and heal them. Obviously, the program tonight is going to be a little bit different than what we discussed. We, as a community, have heard from many people since October 7th. We've heard from Cantor and Rabbi speaking, educating us through the work of the Hartman Institute. We've heard from Shoni, who brought us up to date with people he knows throughout Israel Who we haven't heard from are people who actually were there. And Ayal's family is only 2 miles from the Gaza border. So not only does he have all these years of experience working with Arab and Israeli communities, but also he experienced this particular event very, very strongly. I want to tell you just a brief summary about Ayal, and then I'll give him the chance to spend the rest of the time telling us his experiences and the experience of Dror International. So Ayal Tartitsky, for the past 20 years, has worked as an educator with marginalized communities in Israel, including Jewish Arab youth programming in Arab villages in the north, as well as the Bedouin community in the south, and as a teacher for at-risk youth at one of Dror's high schools. So as an educator, and also as an activist, and also as a citizen, I want to introduce Ayal Tartitsky. We look forward to learning from you.
Thank you, Mitch, for introducing me. Thank you, Cantor Vera and the rabbi for the lovely words. And thank you also, Judy, that introduced me to this lovely synagogue and lovely atmosphere. I'm proud and excited to be here, and thank you for inviting me and coming here. As Mitch said, I will add something. I'm 41 years old. I'm part of Dror Israel Educators community in Sderot. And nowadays I'm a community organizer, and also I'm part of our fundraising and international partnerships team of Dror Israel. So I'll start. I think that everywhere in the world, when I try to speak, there is a problem with okay, I will move with my finger, it's fine. Okay, so today I will share with you my personal story, my family story, and also the story of Dror Israel since October 7. And I want you to understand how come on October 8 we jumped into action in 15 evacuee centers and then even more. But to understand that fact, I want to share with you a bit what is Dror Israel. Dror Israel is a grassroots educational organization, one of the biggest in Israel and the most diverse of them. We are 1,300 professional trained educators living in 16 intentional communities all around Israel, especially in the socio-geographic periphery. And we do three main things. One is our youth movement that includes 90,000 participants from all the sectors of the Israeli society. Second is our network for youth at risk and boarding schools. And the third main thing we do is our local programs that we try to tailor the programs to each community and to the needs of the community. And we do it through dialogue with the people, with our neighbors in the different cities of Israel where we live. And our vision for the Israeli society is a more just and equal society, democracy, and peace. And we do it through education and community organizing. Okay, now you can see the view from my porch in Sderot, less than 2 miles from the Gaza Strip. And here you can see the view from the Gaza Strip to Sderot, and it's written here in Hebrew and in Arabic, כל האפשרויות מותרות מגדלי שדרות. All the options are allowed, the towers of Sderot, which means everywhere, school, preschool, supermarket, everything is a target, a kid, baby, or elderly people. And the target is exactly on my building. This is me and my lovely daughter, Niv. I'm very objective. Yeah. I will give you a trick with your kids or with your grandchildren. When Niv is angry, I go with her to the porch and I show her this is the Orthodox school, this is the playground, this is the supermarket, and far away you can see also Gaza, and in Gaza there are lovely kids like you. This and then she comes. So it's a great idea. This picture was taken on October 5th, while the terrorists of Hamas were preparing their brutal massacre. On October 7, I was visiting my friends in Akko. Originally, I'm from our community in Akko, and we celebrated my birthday, and it was Erev Simchat Torah, and I was born in Simchat Torah. So I was very happy, and I wished everyone this year, because last year was very difficult for our community. I wished like a lot of simcha, a lot of happiness, but nobody heard my wishes. And my daughter Niv and my partner Karmi were in Sderot while I was in Akko. And at 6:29 a.m., I got like a lot of SMS and WhatsApp from my parents near Tel Aviv and from Karmi telling me that there is a massive attack of missiles over Sderot. And for Karmi, it wasn't like a big surprise. She knows what to do because Sderot since 2001 is hit by missiles. And also, my partner Karmi, with some of our friends from our educators community, are working in the welfare department, and they established a network of 600 activists in the underserved neighborhoods of Sderot. And this network was responsible in case of emergency to help each other. And Carmi knew because of her work what to do in this occasion. And she knew that she won't call me because she didn't want to wake Niv, and she didn't want Niv to be stressed. So she entered to the safe room. If someone here was in a safe room or a bomb shelter once? Where, can I ask? In Tel Aviv. So in Tel Aviv, you have, if I remember well, 1 minute to enter to the safe room or to the bomb shelter when there is an alarm. In Sderot, we have 15 seconds. But what is a safe room? Safe room is like a bomb shelter. Every new house in Israel after the 90s has a safe room. It's a room with heavy doors and heavy windows. And in Sderot, we have just 15 seconds. Imagine to yourself, if you are sleeping now and you need to run to the safe room in 15 seconds, or you have to take your son or your grandson and to run with him to the safe room. A lot of elderly people in Israel don't run to the safe room because they know that they won't come there in time. So Carmi was in the safe room and with Niv, and I got like videos. I saw videos of people, of terrorists roaming the streets of Sderot, and I watched the video 15 times, and I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe it's possible because Israel is so strong. But I thought to myself, why does people share fake news now? It's so cruel. But 1 minute after, I got an SMS from the municipality of Sderot, like all the residents, saying, enter to your houses and close the doors because terrorists are roaming the streets. And I messaged Carmi, please close all the doors and all the windows and take with you the phone and food and enter to the safe room. An hour later, I saw in one of the websites a building that I thought to myself, maybe it's my building, where I saw like a terrorist trying to break the doors of the building. And I said, this is a picture of a building of my neighborhood. And Carmi told me, yes, one of my friends, one of the members of our educators community had like the windows opened and she saw the terrorists outside. And two of my neighbors tried to escape. They escape always from Sderot while they hear the alarms because they don't want to be stuck with their two little daughters in a safe room for days. But they didn't know that there are terrorists in the street, and they ran away, and the terrorists like caught them and killed the father. The mother don't know how to drive a car. A Bedouin guy saw the car and entered the car and tried to run away with them to save their life. And the terrorist killed him and killed the mother. They got to the police station in Sderot that was occupied by the Hamas terrorists, and the main battle in Sderot was there. And those little girls were on the floor of the car and they pretended to be dead, and policemen like saved their life. They asked him, are you from Israel? Are you Israel? It's so symbolic. So 2 hours 2 hours later, after this happened, I decided, I was in the north, I decided that I have to do something, but I don't have weapon, and I finished my reserve duty a few years ago, and nobody knew what is happening. I said to myself, okay, I have to go to Tel Aviv, and from Tel Aviv, I will have to decide what I do. And This is my daughter Niv again. Um, and Carmi and Niv were in the safe room for more than 36 hours. Niv was very smiley because Carmi did really a great job. We were messaging all that time, and it was like the worst nightmare that I have all my life. I got like the information that there is a group of reservists that has retired reservists with weapons that suggested to people of the kibbutzim to come and accompany them outside of the risk zone. And I fill out the strangest Google forms that I would ever fill out. There was like a question there, are they terrorists near your house? And I wrote in the comment, I'm not from the kibbutzim, I'm from Sderot, like apologizing if you can, so come. And they called me after 1 minute and said, of course we are coming to Sderot. And Carmi and their friends had 15 minutes to organize a bag, to put things inside. And those good people came with 2 cars and weapons and accompanied them. But before Carmi got out from Sderot, she called me and told me, Eyal, what are we going to do? We always put Niv in the safe chair. It's not a question. But now, when terrorists are still in Sderot, what are we going to do? So we decided that Niv will be on Carmi's knees. And in case of terrorists shooting or missiles, they can run away. I hope nobody will be in such a dilemma in his life. It was like 15 minutes from our house to get out to safer place, but I think that it was like the longest 15 minutes that I have ever had. Niv was very smiley also in the way outside from Sderot, but Carmi and their friends saw abandoned cars, they saw blood, they passed near one of the neighborhoods where Carmi works, and there was like the bus of the elderly people, the famous bus that people were going to the Dead Sea to a trip, and all the people in that bus were killed. They stopped in Sderot because they have like a problem in the bus, and they couldn't enter to a bomb shelter that was in the street, and all of them were killed. So she saw things very traumatically. And so after a few hours, we reunited in Tel Aviv. We went to my parents' house and we tried to think, what are we doing now? And since that moment, Carmi and their friends started calling the members, the activists of this network of activists, 600 people of Sderot, to understand where are they if they need help. And in one of the calls she did, she spoke with a lonely mother that told her, listen, I'm in Tel Aviv, and my 5 children are alone in their apartment. Their apartment is in front of the police station that was destroyed by in this battle. And Carmi called people from the network of activists, and those activists went and risked their life to help those children, just to emphasize the importance of this network. And we discovered that most of the people of this network are in the moved to the Dead Sea. Most of the Sderot residents were or in Eilat in the evacuee centers or in Sderot. So we decided also to leave my parents' house and to go to the evacuee centers in the Dead Sea to live there. We lived there for more than 3 months in one room with our baby daughter, then 7 months old. When I came to the hotel in the first night, I saw people speaking and sharing stories about what happened on October 7th, and their kids are there playing or sitting with us and listening, and I understood that it's not a normal situation. Those parents in regular times won't accept that their kids will sit with them and hear those things. So we decided to establish hotel committees in the Dead Sea, like to reestablish the network of activists we have in Sderot. And what we've done, here you see one of the meetings. There are 12 hotels in the Dead Sea. One of the hotels, the biggest, is 20 floors, and half of the residents of the hotel were elderly people from Sderot. And the people of the hotel committee we established said, we tried to think about the needs of the people, and they said, there are 20 floors here. We have only 2 elevators. If you have to wait 20 minutes to the elevator, and for some of the elderly people, it's difficult to do it. They came without their helpers. Nobody knows if they have their medicine or if they are going to the Hadar Ochel, to the dining room to eat. So we have to do something. They went, 20 people, residents of Sderot, went to speak with the directors of the hotel and asked them a simple ask. They told them, we want to put a chair in front of every elevator in the building. And the directors accepted it. And we could see that more people are going down to the dining room or going to the club that we established there. And it was a great impact by something very, very simple. And I love this story because volunteers that come, and there were a lot of volunteers that came from all around the country and did great things. A volunteer that comes, he comes to the lobby and he doesn't know what is happening in the 15th floor. So I believe that the residents of Sderot and the residents of the evacuee communities, they know best what are they need, and this is the reason why we established those leadership groups in the hotels. I want to give a few more examples of things that those leadership groups did. They distributed donations. There were a lot of donations. They distributed them in a fair way because people were fighting over the donations. They also made food for Shabbat. They asked the hotel, think about it, you come to an hotel, nobody will give you the opportunity to cook there. And they didn't give them the opportunity to cook them. But after few times they asked, so the kitchen allowed them to do it. And it was really important. There are a lot of mothers that are regular to do the Shabbat dinner, and now they don't have this role. I think it's important. A bit about Dror Israel in the war. We are 1,300 educators, as I mentioned. 300 were called to reserve duty. 600 members of Dror Israel jumped into action on October 8th and the days after, and went to the evacuation centers, left their work, left their family, and did what they do, this wonderful work. Here you can see the map of the evacuation centers we facilitated. We did like the educational activity in more than 50% of the evacuated communities from the south and also from the north, in more than 60 evacuation centers with more than 41,000 people, elderly, adults, young adults, kids. We opened schools for evacuees. We opened established groups for elderly people, because I believe that elderly people want, like me, to be part of the community, to play and to talk and to meet other people. We established a school for evacuees. Here you can see our school in the south, that in Mitzpe Ramon, if you know this little town, they absorbed to their school, to our school of Dror Israel, kids of one of the kibbutzim that were evacuated to this town, and we had to bring new classes for those kids, because we didn't have room. We had to bring more teachers, just to give them the feel of normalcy. Here you can see our high school in Haifa. It's a lovely story, because all the education system was closed the days after October 7, and we got phone calls from our students saying, we want to come to school. It's not something normal, yeah? And the teachers asked why, and they said, we want to do something. We want to do something because this is the way we educate them. You do things with the things you learn. And those children learn 3D printing, and they suggested to build locks for safe rooms. This can save life of people, and it's not difficult to build it for them. They built 15,000 pieces of locks and distributed them to north kibbutzim and moshavim through the IDF. We also reestablished the preschool system of Kibbutz Be'eri. Kibbutz Be'eri is one of the strongest kibbutzim in Israel, very rich kibbutz. 1,000 members, 101 of the members were killed on October 7, and dozens were kidnapped. And we came to this kibbutz and offered the help. This kibbutz was evacuated to the Dead Sea, to the King David Hotel, and we came there, and the people of the kibbutz didn't throw us from the hotel, because they knew us from before, because we were working in this kibbutz years ago, in more than 50% of those evacuated communities. So it wasn't strange for them that we came in this very bad moment, but they didn't want our help. But my friends that came there told them, you are sitting Shiva in the lobby of the hotel. You are not available to work with your kids. Let us the opportunity to reestablish the preschools. We will do it in a way you will want it to do. So two of my friends came to the Dead Sea the day after, and they sat with one of the members of the kibbutz, like an educator from the kibbutz, and they invited people from all around Israel to come. And they said, they had hundreds of people that said, we will come. But they told them, we want just the people that can promise to come here not less than 1 half and a month, 1 month and a half. And 2 days after, 22 educators came to the Dead Sea to live there with the people of the kibbutz. And in the first day that the ganim, the preschools were opened, parents entered and saw like the tents with the paintings and with the names of the original classes, the original preschools that they had in Kibbutz Be'eri, and they said, this is resilience. And this is an example. We did it in different evacuee communities all around Israel. Here you can see, I want to move forward. I will refer to this picture later. These are members of our organization or alumni that died on October 7 and the days after. And unfortunately, it's not updated. There were, when the hostages were released, one of the alumni of our organization died there. Here you can see the preschool and the preschool in Kibbutz Be'eri. If the first stage, the first months until April, I can say, I will call it emotional, educational first aid, and I will explain why, because the psychologist who we work with told us that it's really important what you do in the first day. It can help those children and those parents not to suffer from trauma. And I can say that we have a lot of experience in education, but we don't have experience in situation like a kid that is coming to his educator and telling him, I lost my father. Can you be my father? So we try our best to give those children a sense of normalcy and agency. And now we are moving forward to the next stage of rehabilitation and building community resilience. We have a plan for the next 18 months that we, with our partners from municipalities and the Ministry of Education, we try to give an answer to the Israeli society to heal those communities, and not just those communities, not just the evacuee communities, also not displaced communities that suffer from this war. And I want to give just 2 examples before I end my things I said. Now we are entering to the summer vacation, and we are going to suffer from a lack of educational frameworks for kids. And I think it's critical that we will give answers to those kids. And here you can see one of the examples. We prepared a kit with games and a manual that, in case of escalation, and there is now escalation in the war in the Lebanon border, in case of escalation, there will be totally chaos, and maybe the kids that will be in the bomb shelters would be responsible for their parents and for their other friends. And if our participants will have like this kit, that they got like a preparation to use this kit, they could organize the kids and to do something meaningful, meaningful for them. We just distributed hundreds of kits, and we want to distribute more. Also, we translated this manual to Arabic and and Russian. And I don't know if you know, but the majority of the Arab society is living in the north. And in case of escalation, they will suffer a lot because there is a lack of bomb shelters in the Arab community. Another thing we do, we have like a leadership course for more than 4,000 teenagers from all around Israel that are coming this summer to learn how to be counselors. And those 4,000 will lead activities for kids in the vacuum centers in different communities. Think every teenager, every counselor can work with 20, so they can get to 80,000 kids. It's a lot of impact. And here you can see the community of Sderot. 80% of the people of Sderot return to Sderot. Our activity in Sderot was doubled, like we had something like 100 members, participants before in our activity. Now there are something like 800 kids. And we work with them in different schools because our branch was damaged during the occupation of the police station. The branch is near the police station. And I will end my what I said. Oh, sorry. Okay. I want to come back to one of the pictures. I will tell it like that. Okay. Yeah, I will tell just one story. We brought like plastic houses to our preschool of Kibbutz Be'eri, and one of the educators, one of my friends, one more please. One of the educators told me, I can do it. Okay, thank you. One of the educators saw those kids entering to this house, and they were doing like shh, shh. So he asked them, "What are you doing?" And they told him, "Shh, we are hiding from the terrorists." And he didn't know what to do. In the end of the day, the educators have a gathering and they speak and learn and share like their experience, and he shared what happened. And the psychologist we work with told them that it's normal that they did it, like they relive what happened, but it's really important that you as educators will bring them to a situation that they are not the losers. They cannot lose. They have to be like winners, or to feel that they have back the control to their lives. And I think that this is the story that we want to tell the Israeli society, a story of togetherness, not to be alone, to share your thoughts, to share your hopes, a story of activism, not to be just a victim, to feel that you have control and you can be involved and do things, and a story of imagination of a good reality that we can live. So we try to rebuild those communities and the Israeli society with a story of rebirth. And this is what we try to do, and we will continue doing it with those communities, because we were there before October 7, we were there in the days after October 7, and we will be with them for the long term. Thank you for listening. Yes, yeah, you can speak here so the people, sorry.
So peripherally related. First was excellent presentation. But you mentioned that you were in the reserves, but you didn't have a weapon with you.
I finished my reserve a few years ago.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So here's what my question basically is. Like I know the Nazis did not want to occupy Switzerland because they knew that the people were armed. Everyone had arms. So the question is this, to prevent another situation like this from occurring again, anyone who was in the reserves who was authorized to carry a weapon, my guess should always have a weapon so that he or she can defend their home. So I wanted to ask you, in the U.S., we have Second Amendment, whether we should or we shouldn't. It's an argument, and the Constitution, if you interpret the Second Amendment, one writes is anyone can be armed. Now the question is this: many people probably shouldn't be armed, but my question is: in Israel, should everyone, certainly who served in the military, should they be carrying weapons at all times to prevent something like October 7th from reoccurring?
Thank you for your question. My friend and colleague Gary will answer.
Okay, so my name is Gary. I'm also a member of Draw Israel and I live in the north. I also served in the reserves. As you mentioned, in Israel, not everybody can carry a weapon. Okay, you have to go through a special process and you don't just walk into Walmart and buy a rifle. My personal view is we have a strong army, we have police, and their goal is to defend us. I don't personally think that I wouldn't like to live in a society that everybody feels that they're unsafe and that the state or whoever can't take care of us, and therefore we have to take care of ourselves. The other thing is Israel is at the moment distributing a huge amount of licenses for people to have weapons. It definitely gives people the sense of security, but I'm sure in years to come, learning from the US community that the number of unnecessary use of these weapons, the number of tragic accidents, the number of women that will suffer because of the use of these things will be more tragic than lives that will be saved. And again, I think it's the state, I think it's the country, I think it's the army that should defend its citizens, and giving all these weapons to citizens is by many means a message to me, we can't take care of you, it's each one for his own. So hopefully, and I'm telling this with somebody who's sleeping with a rifle under his bed since October 7th. So hopefully, I think we can build the trust, and some of the rebuilding of Israel hopefully will be rebuilding the trust in the IDF, rebuilding the trust between citizens and state, and not having to defend ourselves as citizens, but having the army and the police do it for us.
Yes. Can you?
What does DROR stand for, D-R-O-R?
So drawer is a biblical word. You can find it in Sefer, in the Vayikra book. I don't know the name in English. Leviticus. There is a sentence there, וקראתם דרור לכל יושביה, like you called for liberation and freedom for all the people of the land, all the people, doesn't matter who, also the slaves. And we took this name from the organization DROR, that a youth movement in the that was active in Poland and Russia before World War II. And those youth movement members were the leaders of the uprising in the ghettos. And because we believe in a just and equal society in Israel, we wanted the inspiration from those people that fought for those values. So we called our organization Draw Israel. Draw Israel was established 30 years ago as an adult movement, and we gave the name Draw Israel 20 years ago. Yes. If you can say your name, I'm a teacher, it's important for me. Yeah.
Jim Billings.
Jim?
Yeah, thank you for a terrific presentation. Obviously, all of this takes money. And I'm assuming that you supply things like these kids' playground toys and so on. What about the things like the hotels? Were they covered by the government? Were they donated by the hotels? How did all that work? And, you know, or is that more money that you need in order to, you know, keep things going?
So, thank you. So the state supplies like hotel rooms, supplies food in the hotel rooms, but mostly the education part is not there. Like a lot of the budget of Israel is going now to security. The residents of Sderot or the residents of different evacuee communities are staying in the hotels. But when we brought our educators to the hotels, they weren't funded by the country. So we had to fund it. And I'm speaking about something like 600 people for few months, okay? And you can imagine that some of them are volunteers that came not less than 1 week, but a lot of our educators are adults and they did it for a few months until now. So you have to pay them also. So the needs are great to continue to do this work. We are in a connection with the government, because before the war, 70% of our budget was from the government and different authorities. Something like 20% came from our participants, and something like 7% came from philanthropy. These days, the state is funding the regular activity, but the extra, and we doubled our activity, this is not paid or not paid enough. And as I mentioned before, we are before the summer vacation. We have like enormous activity with more than 20,000 kids, and the needs are enormous. And I will say it bluntly, it's really important for us if you will want to be involved in what we are doing and support us and learn more about Draw Israel and support Draw Israel, it will really help the children of Israel and our work with them. Maybe next 2 questions. I can be here until the morning, but I know that we have the Avdallah, so Cantor Vera, you will cut me when you think, yeah. Yeah. Yes, Ira.
Hey, all. Thank you for giving us access to such an important part of the October 7th story that many of us haven't heard before. So I really appreciate that. I wanted to ask you, you were just talking about the summer program, and you mentioned, if I understood you correctly, that you're hiring teenagers to work with younger kids. And I was curious, obviously the younger kids need a
We are not hiring, we are not like paying them. It's like voluntarily for those kids.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I was mistaken. I'm curious, obviously the younger kids need so much work with dealing with trauma, and my understanding is that's part of what that relationship is about, or mostly what it's about. But what about the teenagers themselves and how you're helping them to deal with their own trauma?
Thank you. So I think that part of the healing is to be active. And those teenagers, when they do something for somebody else, if I will share a story, one of the daughters of one of the activists from Sderot on October 7 was sleeping in another house in Sderot, in a house of a friend, and she heard the missiles, so she ran to her house. And just when she came to her house, her mother told her, "You didn't know that there are terrorists roaming the streets?" And from that moment, that girl was traumatized. And when she got to the hotel, she was stuck in her room. She didn't go out. And the counselors of Dror Israel, which the mother spoke with them, she was part of this network. And the counselors went to her room and spoke with her and suggested her to come to the activity, to the youth activity they had in the hotel. And afterwards, they suggested her to be part of this course, because we did like small courses in the beginning of the war. And that girl accepted the offer, and she became like a young counselor for kids. And we can see how this process healed her. And I think that if they do something for their society, it's part of the healing. And not just that, those counselors are sitting in a circle like us, and they share their thoughts, they share their hopes, so they can reflect what is happening to them, and they can imagine also good things. We are trying to recover their trust in the society, in parents, in other people. And I think that being part of this activities is like gaining again this sense of normalcy and trust. And I will say our education approach is very holistic. We are seeing the kids not just as individuals, we see them also as part of society. And if I was I went to psychologist in my life, and I assume that part of you have been there, you know that he can help you and he can advise you. But if you want to fix things and change things, you will do it with the people you live with, not just into yourself. And we give those children the platform, like the meeting, the encounter with other kids to change and to solve their problems. And I will say that we are not mental workers, we are not psychologists, but we are working with them because we want to do things in a professional way that in the long term will help those kids. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Michelle.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is very moving, and I really appreciate sharing your own story and talking about Dror Israel. A quick question: do you ever work with Natal?
With
Natal, the
Natal.
yeah, Natal. They do
They
with trauma counselors.
So some of the training that
Yeah.
we do for our older counselors is done with Natal. I'll just say on the national level, Israel isn't organized with the amount of psychologists, social workers, welfare workers to take care of tens of thousands that have been traumatized to the limit they've been traumatized. So part of what we're doing now, as Eyal explained, is trying to train ourselves to give the basic things that we can give to the youth, because Israel just doesn't have the facilities. It doesn't have the amount of therapists that can take care of thousands of children that have been through the events that Eyal has described, and Natal does an amazing job from that point of view.
Yes, of course. DrawIsrael.org. We are like, we are tax exempt. If somebody wants to donate, we have US friends of Draw Israel, and it will be really appreciated. Okay, so thank you very much for everything, for listening.
Before we make Havdalah, there's one question I'd like to ask Eyal and Gary together. When you think about, let's call it 5 years in the future, what's the kind of healing you hope to see?
I think that I will start, and maybe Gary will continue me with his perspective. As I said before, our mission in the Israeli society is to build a just and equal society, and to do it through education and community building. If I will give the example of Kibbutz Iftach, kibbutz in the north, that was evacuated to the Kinneret, to the Galil Sea, I think it can maybe emphasize what I think about our strategic plan for the next 5 years. We opened a school with like partners from the Ministry of Education. We opened a school for the kids of Kiryat Shmona, small town in the Galil, in the Upper Galil, and for the children of Kibbutz Iftach. And the mazkir of the kibbutz, the head of the kibbutz, told our educators, without your school and without your educational approach, my community maybe was spread all over Israel, because a lot of the northern communities are in a very, very bad situation. There are kibbutzim that half of the houses were damaged or destroyed, and nobody knows when they can come back to their kibbutz, moshav, to their homes. And he said that there are parents that are suffering in the hotel, but they decided to rent a house not in Tel Aviv, that it's easier now than live in the north. They decided to rent a house near the hotel and near our school for evacuees, because they want their children to be part of this school. And it's not the only kibbutz that we heard those things. And I really believe that what we do has a great impact on those communities. And we have our experience of working with youth and working with young adults, and bringing what we know best. And I think that this is what can rebuild the Israeli society. I assume that you read a lot the newspapers, but the newspapers are not telling the story of the evacuated communities. And the resilience of the Israeli society, the strength is not just the army and the money and things like that. The resilience of the Israeli society is also the education and what is happening with those communities. And this is what we try to do. I will tell just one thing, one last thing. We have like a network for young adults that belongs to Dror Israel, and we offered like different young adults that are not part of Dror Israel to come to the Western Negev and to live there, to do like a gap year. People from 25 to 35 years old to live there, because there is a great lack of educators and social workers and so on. We have like 100 people that said we want to come and to try to live there together and to do something. So I believe that if we will do it and if we will enlarge our programs, and we are working, as I said, nationwide, maybe it can give a deep answer to the Israeli society for the long run. You want to add something?
I will also try and answer that interesting question. When COVID broke out, I Googled something like, what opportunities come from crisis? And it gave some good answers. And now we have AI, so it's even more interesting, the answers. But I would say, the first thing I would say that I hope won't take 5 years is the return of all hostages. That's not a Dror Israel issue. It's not an Israeli issue. It's not a Jewish issue. It's a humanitarian, human issue to bring back the babies, the women, the elderly, the soldiers, now, tomorrow, not in 5 years. So that's one. Two, I would say that when human beings on a personal level, on a family level, on a national level go through a crisis, it probably is an opportunity to rethink about what we want, what's important in life, what we want to change, why these things happened. And I think that my vision, in Dror's vision, we hope for a much more united Israeli society that remembers that Israel was established to be a home for all Jewish people, those that live in Israel and those that don't. That Israel was established to be a just and democratic and peaceful country. And I think, I wish, I hope that it will be an opportunity for all of us to rethink and rebuild the values, the Jewish values, the Zionist values, the Israeli values of some of the signs I've seen in some of the synagogues that we've been visiting. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, kol Israel arevim ze bazeh. So I think if we can take this crisis, this terrible attack, this terrible war that we're going through, and strengthen Israel and bring it nearer to its Jewish roots, to its Jewish values, then I think also we'll be stronger and also will be more worthy of what we are. And I think, and we haven't spoken about this evening, but Eyal and I feel very much with the dialogue with American Jewry, and we know what American Jewry has been going through the past 8 months. We know people don't feel as safe as they felt 1 year ago. And, so I think fighting anti-Semitism and all sorts of hatred between human beings is something that I wish is a corner we can change through thinking what are the things that led us to having better politics in Israel from all sides of the way politics. Maybe you wish that for yourselves in the United States as well. Who am I to say? But I think these are the sort of things we see in our vision 5 years from now, and hopefully less for some of the things. Thank you very much. And Am Yisrael Chai.
We make Havdalah as a distinction between Kodesh and Chol, between the holy and not the profane, but the regular recurring rhythms of the week, the Chol, that circle that keeps coming back and back. And one of the things that is so important about Shabbat is that it gives us a taste of the world as it can be days, weeks, months, 5 years, 10 years, generations from now, when we achieve a more just, a more peaceful, a more redemptive, a more whole and healed and healing way of being with one another. And so when we make Havdalah, we're not leaving that taste behind. We're not closing the door on it and saying, okay, that lives in Shabbat, now back to the daily grind. No, we use Shabbat as our guiding star to say, we can get there. And the rest of our time, every day, every hour, every minute, the rest of our time is to bring the rest of the week into more alignment with that Shabbat vision. That's what we're doing. I think that's what you folks are doing, and encouraging people to join with you in that vision. And so as we make Havdalah tonight, let's carry with us into the rest of this week and the weeks beyond some of the ta'am, some of the taste of the salt, of the sweat that it takes to bring that vision about, and also of the hope to where it can lead. I'm going to grab my guitar. I'm going to invite Judy. I'm sorry I didn't clear this with you before. In recognition of you having first made this connection, to please honor us by lighting and holding and dipping and passing the spices. And I have also been asked to mention that we are, as a community, we are gauging the rising interest in having a more ongoing group for engagement with what is happening in the Holy Land and who lives there. So keep that in your minds. You can talk to me about that. You can talk to Michelle and Judy, and let's bring that with us too. If you'll come forward, I'll grab the guitar, and I want all of you to be singing with me. This also feels like a moment of honoring our rabbi who delights in lightsabers. So Rabbi Josh, we know you're with us. Yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen Yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 yai da 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim borei minei v'samim Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam bore meore haesh bore meore haesh. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam המבדיל בין קודש לחול, בין אור לחושך, בין ישראל לעמים, בין יום השביעי לששת ימי המעשה. ברוך אתה אדוני המבדיל בין קודש לחול. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Yay, da 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 da. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimera veyamenu, Yavo Eilenu, Im Mashiach ben David, Im Mashiach ben David, Miriam HaNeviah, Oz וזמרה בידה, Miriam תרקוד איתנו, להגדיל זמרת עולם. Miriam תרקוד איתנו, לתקן את העולם. Shavua Tov. Take this bit of tikkun with us into the week. Please feel free to remain and nibble and nosh and say thank you to the Adult Ed Committee and to Eyal and to Gary. Thank you folks so much for coming to share with us, and we look forward to continuing to learn even more about the wonderful work you're doing and grateful for a chance to be a part of it.